I want to talk about one of the homework problems, problem 12.20. There's a random sample of 900 births. 477 of the births are boys, 423 of the births are girls. And the question is to test the equally likely births hypothesis against the alternate hypothesis that there are more boys than girls that are born. So the null hypothesis will be that pi is equal to 0.5, where pi is the probability that a baby born is a baby boy. And the alternate hypothesis will be that pi is greater than 0.5. The problem says to use a significance level of 5%, so our value of alpha will be equal to 5%. This will be a z-test. It is a proportion problem, so we must use the z-test. Okay, so to do this, we first figure out the proportion of boys in the sample. So 477 divided by 900 is 53%. So we have the observed proportion of 0.53 divided by, or minus the expected proportion of 0.5 divided by the standard error for the proportion. Now we recall, I'm going to do this work on the side, that the standard error for a proportion is equal to the square root of pi times 1 minus pi over n. In our case, the null hypothesis states that pi is exactly equal to 0.5. And so because pi is given to be 0.5 in the null hypothesis, that's the value that I use down here when computing the standard error for the proportion. So I have 0.53 minus 0.5 over square root of 0.5 times 0.5 over 900. So there's my p-value. 0.3. So the z-value will be equal to 0.53 minus 0.5 divided by the square root of 0.5 times 0.5 over 900. And that is equal to 1.8. The next thing we do is we either find the observed significance level or else the critical value. The observed significance level, if I have 1.8, I need to find, in this case, the area to the right, because the alternative hypothesis says that pi is greater than 0.5. So the p-value will be equal to 1 minus norm s dist of 1.8. This also could be found on the TI calculator using the normal CDF function. And we get a p-value of 0.036. The other way that this problem could be done is by finding the critical value, which I'll do over here in red, which means we find the number so that the area that's shaded is equal to 0.05. And I'll do that here. So the critical value would be equal to norm S inv of 0.95. Let me make that over here so we can see what I typed. Norm S inv of 0.95, so that 95% of the area lies to the left and 5% of the area lies to the right, for 1.64489, or 85, pardon me. So in our case, the test statistic 1.8 falls in the rejection region, and so we reject the null hypothesis. So either way, by looking at the p-value or else the critical value, the decision is to reject the null hypothesis. So let me type the conclusion, is that we reject the null hypothesis. We have reason to think that boys are born more frequently than girls. So that is the procedure for this hypothesis testing problem involving a proportion.